So one thing I get asked a lot is, as a non-designer, how do I learn the basics of design? And I have to say that there's just so much information out there that it can be really overwhelming. There's a lot of free content online that you can go and check out. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, but there is just so much information, and design is such a big topic that sometimes it can be hard to wade through all of it to find what you're looking for. So one of the things I highly recommend is this book called The Non-Designer's Design Book by Robin Williams, different Robin Williams. And there is a couple of reasons why I specifically suggest this book. And the first one is that it really covers the basics well. And what I mean by that is it talks to the 4 key design principles of contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. And if you want to know more about that, you can go check out my previous video that covered those 4 design principles. And in addition to that, it also covers typography and color. So it gives you a really good base understanding of design without giving you too much information. And personally, I think even just the section on design principles alone is worth it for this book. So I think a lot of design books are really aimed at people wanting to get into the design industry. But if you're not wanting that, if you just want the basics so that you can make your information look good, stand out, easy to read, you just need the basics, and this book does it really, really well. The second reason that I suggest this book in particular is because it isn't intimidating whatsoever. It's kind of, the way I would explain it is ugly good. And what I mean by that is that the images used in the book aren't like these amazing modern graphic design looking images and examples. They're really what I would refer to as Microsoft publishery. And if you're around in the 90s, you'll know exactly what I mean. And I think that this works well for beginners for 2 reasons. So the first one is that it isn't intimidating at all. You look at the designs and you're like, okay, I could do that myself. You're not going to feel like it's above your level. And the second reason it's really good is that by taking away that level of aesthetics, it makes it really clear when she applies, say, the design principles, how they've been used and why they're effective. Because I think a lot of people get really confused and they see something that looks beautifully designed and they think, oh, that's a really good design. But my main focus is, does it work as a communication? Is it clear? Is it easy to read? Does it help the reader? Does it get your point across? And sometimes things can look really beautiful and grab your attention, but the information's all over the place and it doesn't really effectively communicate your message. So I think in this book, it does a really good job at showing the before and after in a really non-intimidating way. The other thing I really like about this book as well is throughout with the examples, she has many questions that she calls Train Your Designer Eye. And so throughout the book, wherever there's an example, she doesn't simply tell you what she's done differently and why that works. She asks you to think about why the changes work and what the changes specifically are. And I think that this is the most important part of learning design. So whenever I teach design, I talk about looking at all the things around you that have been designed and start to think about what is good and what is bad about the design. Why does it work or not work? And I think this book does it really well. So she does have suggestions at the back, so you can obviously go and check your answers. But I think that's far better than just providing examples and even just telling you what she's done, because it's starting to get you thinking like a designer and thinking about designs much more than you would if you just passively looked at the changes and the designs. So I would highly recommend this book if you're really wanting to get a really good foundation of design, but you're not looking to necessarily become a designer, because it's just going to give you that base level knowledge in a really non-intimidating way, and it's just going to help you start to think about design and what works and what doesn't, so that then when you start to design yourself, you can think a lot more clearer around what you're doing and why. If you want to know a bit more about design principles and what you should be doing, make sure you check out my previous videos. And if you want to keep updated, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you'll get notified.